At the beginning of the movie, we see the protesters and demonstrators outside of a government building. They were gathered there to protest against their governor Sandro Correa, who was found corrupt and stealing the state money. The people throw things and stones at the building. The governor hides under the table where a masked man finds him. In the next scene, some men of the Force DAE are seen getting prepared and armed. Later that moment they arrive at a building where a man was sipping his coffee. That man was Governor Sandro. They arrested him and took him to the interrogation room in their head office. Their fellow officers cheer Edu and Miguel on their performance of capturing the corrupt governor. In the interrogation room, they told him that they have got evidence of his corruption and embezzlement of public money. The governor threatens them that he will not stop killing anyone who tried to expose his corruption or crimes. He even tries to bribe the officer to get free from the charges. After some time, when the governor was having a lavish lunch, his lawyer arrived there. He talked about his contacts in the prosecutor's office. He assured him of his release from custody in a short while. He told him that he might be put on house arrest during the investigation. In the meantime, they're in the DAE head office. Their commander holds a small meeting and tells them that the evidence related to the embezzlement of the health budget by Governor Correa is insufficient. So, he decided to allow him to go home and be placed under house arrest. After that, Miguel and his friend come out of the office. Miguel goes to see his daughter, who was standing with her mother there on the road and waiting for her father. They were waiting there to take their daughter to watch the football match. Miguel arrives there with a t-shirt present for his daughter. She gets excited. He helps her wear her shirt while her mother takes pictures. After that, Miguel takes her in a taxi. They get out of the car seeing the traffic block. When they were walking on the road to reach the stadium, his daughter got a blind shot from somewhere. She started bleeding. Miguel rushed his daughter to the hospital emergency for immediate medical treatment. When they reached the hospital, the doctors immediately took Miguel's daughter Alice to the emergency room and asked Miguel to wait outside. Miguel waits there impatiently and then he gets in. He happens to see a lot of serious patients, laying open and unattended in the hospital corridor. He was shocked to see these patients and the conditions of the poor hospital facilities. At that moment, he found his daughter Alice lying motionless in front of the operating room. When he asks the doctor why they have not taken her to the operating room, he tells him that the hospital did not have many operating facilities, so many patients had to wait for their turns. After a lot of bleeding and delay in the treatment, Alice's pulse stopped slowly and she died. After some time, Miguel's ex-wife and Alice's mother arrived at the hospital, and she was shocked to learn that her little daughter had died. In the next scene, the governor got bail and was released from custody due to insufficient evidence. He goes to Mike in the next scene and announces running the election for the president. He pledges to increase the budget for the health sector and public hospitals. He promises to improve the welfare of the people. On the other side, Miguel remembers his daughter while jogging in the streets. He thinks that his daughter's death was caused by inadequate hospital facilities. Miguel thinks that his daughter might have been saved if the health sector had more adequate hospital facilities and equipment. He thinks that patients should not be neglected and ignored. While he was jogging, he came to a shop in the street and saw the news that Governor Correa was released from prison and not found guilty of any corruption and embezzlement of health funds. Miguel got more furious and frustrated over the system. He then passed through the crowd of protesters at that government building and attacked the policeman in his anger. The policeman fired tear gas at him. He wears a mask there. As we know, he was a trained special forces man. He overcame many policemen who were guarding the building. He climbs the building and enters. He kills one of the governor's bodyguards and gets into the room where the governor was hiding. He punches him continuously, which results in his killing. The next day, Miguel returns to work, and the chief at the head office asks Miguel and other day members to investigate protesters that occurred during the demonstration. He tells them that the investigative team managed to arrest several suspects who were suspected of being the masterminds of the protest. Miguel apparently knew one of the women among the suspects. Miguel met this woman at the protest where he was beating the policeman. Miguel interrogates the woman in the room. She tells him that she is Nina and that she is a programmer. Nina also tells him that she knows Miguel is the one who attacked the police, then says that she has a recording of Miguel's actions on her cell phone. He goes to the evidence room and checks her phone. He found her right. She leaves Miguel choiceless, so ultimately he frees her. At night, after analyzing the video and events at his apartment, Miguel finds the address of Nina's apartment and goes there. He found her walking on the road. Nina shows him the laptop of Governor Correa and offers to help Miguel investigate a case of embezzlement of medical funds and hospital equipment. At this moment, Miguel thinks that Correa will not be able to do this alone. Nina hacked into Correa's personal laptop, and Miguel found important information about the people involved in the embezzlement case. She shows him the profiles of politicians who were involved in this corruption. Miguel then prepared himself and targeted one by one the corrupt officials and politicians who were also responsible for the embezzlement and corruption in the health department. Miguel kills them all while wearing the same mask as his disguise. The news of the successive killings of politicians was spread all over. After that, Miguel went to Nina at her workplace and asked her to find the sponsors who had been funding the campaigns of these corrupt officials. Nina refuses, but Miguel offers to reduce the sentence for Nina's mother, who was in prison. After some time, Nina visits her mother, and questions about the value of truth. Her mother replies that the truth is just an illusion, because the truth for one person is not the same according to another person. In the next scene, Nina finds the profiles of the sponsors of those corrupt politicians, who are none other than Gomes. Nina takes control of the surveillance camera system in a building, where Gomes is coming to meet Minister Regina. While in the head office, Adu was going through the files of the suspects on the day of the governor's death. He finds Nina's profile. He managed to find out the next target of the masked man, the Awakener, which was none other than Minister Marta Regina. Adu calls Miguel to inform him of this, but he could not reach Miguel. Then he leaves alone and moves towards the minister's building. He finds that masked man there. Adu chases Miguel and shoots him. Miguel comes straight to Nina and she treats his wound. The next day, Miguel and Adu presented their reports that Minister Regina had collaborated with Antero Gomes. Gomez was the person who had funded the campaign of these corrupt officials. Miguel and Adu decided to investigate Minister Regina, but their chief rejected all the investigation results. The man also said that they should stop the investigation on Minister Regina. Miguel is annoyed with this decision, then decides to execute Gomes with his own hands. After some time, he reached the Gomes residence. He was seen having dinner with several other officials. Gomes' son was there too, who was meeting his mother and asking that he was not ready to become a president. Gomes arrived there and encouraged his son. However, Miguel deliberately shoots Gomes' son to make the man learn and admit his guilt. But Gomes used his son's death as an opportunity to gain public sympathy and nominate himself as the new presidential candidate. Meanwhile, there is a mysterious man in a car, who comes out to be a private spy of Antero Gomes, who was investigating the deaths of his colleagues. His name was Sequeira. Gomes has hired him personally to investigate the murders. He found out that the killer had a partner, and his calculations lead him to Nina's boss being the Awakener's partner. He eventually killed that man. Nina arrives at her workplace and finds that her boss has died. She rushed out of the place and ran for Miguel's place. When she reaches there, Sequeira and his men also reach there who were following Nina. They immediately attack Miguel's hideout. Miguel asks Nina to run from the place while covering her in the firing. In the next scene, Miguel puts on his mask and starts killing the followers. When he was fighting with one of Sequeira's men, Sequeira managed to take Nina hostage. He offered Miguel a deal to save Nina's life. Sequeira ordered Miguel to kill another presidential candidate, Julia Machado. Miguel agrees. After some time, the police came to Miguel's place. Adu and his team find out that the place was where the Awakener was hiding. Adu got more surprised when he knew the identity of the Awakener, who was none other than his best friend and colleague Miguel. After knowing that, they researched the place and found out that the Awakener is targeting Gomes. Adu and his team rushed to the location of the presidential candidate debate. There Miguel also heads to kill Julia. Arriving at the debate location, Miguel was preparing to kill Julia. Adu appeared and immediately stopped him. Both of them get into a fierce fight. Adu tells Miguel to stop all his actions, but he does not listen to him and continues. He didn't care about his talks. On the other hand, Nina, who was being held captive by Sequeira, she fought back until she managed to seriously injure Sequeira. Miguel is later arrested for the murder of corrupt officials. Adu then brought Miguel's ex-wife, hoping that she could persuade Miguel. His ex-wife said that their daughter would be very embarrassed to learn of Miguel's current acts of vigilantism, and would not feel proud of her father. Inside the prison cell, Miguel learns that Antero Gomes won the elections. Here a man comes to investigate Miguel. He was one of Miguel's superiors, Deputy Diaz, who tries to kill Miguel. But Miguel managed to escape and kill that man. Miguel escapes from prison, prepares weapons and ammunition, and rushes to the Parliament building, where Gomes and his fellow politicians were celebrating the victory of Gomes, who had managed to beat Julia in the results. Without any delay, Miguel attacked the Parliament building and killed all of Gomes' men and colleagues. When he finally confronts Gomes in his office, he tells Miguel that corruption will not disappear from the world, because greed is a basic human trait. Miguel shot Gomes to death. After killing Gomes, Miguel was surrounded by Gomes' men at gunpoint. But Miguel has another plan. Miguel had already prepared a bomb that he fixed in his car. Miguel pressed the bomb detonator, and immediately the building exploded and razed to the ground along with Miguel inside. The next day, when the rescuers, police, and forensics team arrive at the crime scene, they only found the mask of the Awakener but did not find Miguel's body. The film ends by showing the figure of the Awakener who is aiming to shoot his target or something from the top of the building.